been on Zak-bagans Ghost Adventures show. But like hearing it with my own ears, and you know, she's still explaining everything that happened, the history of the place, and like out of the corner of my eye, I'm looking in like the back, and I keep thinking I'm seeing this shadow move over in the corner. But once again, I'm like, okay, I know I'm in a haunted place. It's Halloween. My mind is playing tricks on me. And when she gave us the free, you know, range to kind of move about in the main area, I was like kind of drawn to that area to go over there. And when I went over there, she kind of followed me, and she's like, so what brings you over to this spot? So I went to like the back corner of this room, little like pool table area. I'm like, I don't know. I kept thinking that I was seeing like a shadow, but I think it's just my mind playing tricks on me. And she gave me what machine did she give me? The like, it was the light up one.
I was trying to remember the name of that too. There were a few different things that they had, and one of them, I believe, somehow measured some type of
electromagnetic field.
Yes. So I believe it was that.
Yeah, that's what she gave me, and then like I was like the only person that it would like light crazy up for, and it was in that spot. And then we started hearing footsteps again, like right above us. And your friend, who you just said earlier, came over and was like kind of just chilling with me during this time. And then she finally told me, she's like, you know why I was curious about you like being like interested in the spot? And I said, why? And she's like, that's the exact spot the exorcism happened. And I'm like, oh, great. And you know, like I had just had surgery. Not even, I think like, wasn't it like the week before?
It was recent because I wasn't certain if you would even be able to come because it was so recent, but you were adamant about wanting to go, yeah. so we made sure that you were able to go. But yeah, it was maybe a week, if that.
Yeah, I had my surgery October 24th, so it was Halloween. So like, yeah, like 6 days, so not even a full week since my surgery. And, you know, like, so I kind of thought maybe, like, my open wounds on my belly, like, I don't know, maybe that kind of, you know. But it was creepy. Like, the whole place was creepy. And then we freaking went down into, you know, the infamous basement. And me and your friend and then Harley, we all even sat in the freaking like room that I guess used to be the dungeon area, and you know we did an EVP session. I don't know if we caught anything because I would have to ask your friend. And then I remember going in like Johanna's like dressing room down there, and it was me and a referee, Glenn, just kind of in there looking, investigating, and then we hear like people running and screaming, and we like quickly get out of the room, and we see like Scotty and Harley like running, like almost for like I wouldn't say for their life, but like that's the first time I really ever seen Scotty freaked out ever, I want to say. And so I knew something. He said something like popped up. I don't know. But then like right when we were leaving, I was like, oh my gosh, we were allowed to take pictures this whole time, and I haven't taken any pictures. So I just randomly start snapping, and then I caught that orb coming out of Johanna's dressing room where I just was 5 minutes ago. And it was just a very crazy experience, but it was such a cool experience that I want to do again, and I like want to do an all-nighter.
Oh, for crying out loud. Oh, boy. Perhaps one day. I've been curious to travel down to Waverly Hills in Louisville at some point. That's another place that I swore I would never go. But the itch is there, so at some point I may have to scratch that. A lot was brought up in what you just said that I want to delve further into, but before we do that, there's a couple other things that I want to address and talk about. So with you being a in-demand women's wrestler here in the year 2020, working for promotions all across the United States, you've also had the opportunity to travel overseas. And you've had the privilege and the pleasure of performing in the UK, in England, which is personally one of my bucket list items. All of the delightful, high-fashion, custom clothing that yours truly, David Barnabas Spector, wears normally is imported from London.
Okay, hold on.
That's a shoot.
You know, you totally just go to a thrift store.
No, are you kidding me?
It was
A thrift store
in London, Kentucky.
Oh. I would say that I have never been so insulted in all my life, but coming from you, Shauna Reed, I have been more insulted than that. But I can assure you, and everybody listening to Radio Dark, that my exquisite wardrobe is imported from London, England, where we speak the Queen's English. But you have been there directly. You have performed inside of their rings. An amazing bucket list accomplishment. Talk a bit about the experience. That's an amazing experience to have underneath your belt.
Well, I've been to London twice, and I was supposed to go twice this year, but wonderful Corona screwed that up. And my first time going over there, I went in December, which already was like a bad decision because it was freezing. Like, I had to wear, no joke, like multiple pairs of socks, pants, sweatshirts, gloves, scarves, everything to even, like jackets, to even be able to go out and do the things I wanted to do the first trip around. But I was terrified to go the first time because I had never been out of the country in my life. And then I was going to a different country alone, you know? And so I was like, I'm going to get lost. I knew that they had trains. I've never been on like an actual like train to like go somewhere, like to a like subway and stuff like that before. So I was like terrified. And, you know, we had a fan over there, and she she met me at the train station, kind of taught me the ropes, and really helped me out, and was just awesome. And, you know, I wrestled over there. It was a very different kind of crowd that time. The place that we wrestled in, they were more like a Japanese crowd. Like, they were super quiet. And I was in a triple threat match with a girl from Canada, one of their hometown girls as well. And, you know, we did this triple threat match, and it was, like, quiet. They would applaud sometimes. And then me and the girl from Canada was like, okay, we need to just take this home. This is terrible. Obviously, the crowd wasn't getting into it. And we took it home, and we went in the back, afraid that the promoter was going to yell at us. And he goes, that was a great match, like, telling us that the crowd was really into it. And we're like, what? And then I got to go back the second time, and I went in June, but it was still freezing. And, you know, I got to go there, and it was just amazing again. Became real good friends more with, like, the promoter and the people that are on the show and do, like, the video work on the show. I was one of the 3 American girls to represent the United States in the International Grand Prix, and I made it to, I was second. And so there's that, which is amazing. And I'm such a history buff, and, you know, I love the story of, like, you know, the tragic story of King Henry VIII and his, the tragic story of his wives. And it kind of, like, I'm kind of, like, obsessed with that story and, like, just all that history. So the Tower of London is always on my must-go-to when I get there. So that's usually the first thing I do, and it was just amazing. And like I said, I was supposed to go back twice this year, and Corona messed that up. So,
well, you know, a few takeaways from what you just talked about, Shauna, is the British fans sophisticated. See, that's why I get my custom apparel shipped to me from London, because they are a higher class of individual. There are some fans here in the United States that actually appreciate talent, but for the most part, just toothless trash. But in the UK, London, sophistication, style, class, tea and crumpets, blood pudding, I think that's them. Maybe not. Maybe that's Irish. I'm not sure. Regardless, lovely part of the world. But that's amazing that you got to go. But while you were talking about your second voyage there and getting to know some of the staff and getting to know the people behind production that put together the programming, that film the events, just a little thing that I want to slide in for anyone that's listening that may be either involved in the business or looking to get involved. Once upon a time, before I ever got involved with pro wrestling, I worked in radio broadcasting. So one of the first things that I learned from a veteran broadcaster that I worked alongside was always be kind to the receptionist. Because the receptionist, if you are kind to them, will take care of you, meaning as far as if there are extra opportunities within the station, if there are things that are about to change, people being let go, they're hiring people, whatever the case may be. Typically, the receptionist, they're dialed in. They know what's going on, and if you're kind to them, more than likely they will be kind to you in turn. Not saying that you should be nice to somebody because you're looking for something in return, but sometimes niceness does pay off. So in regards to pro wrestling, always a good idea to be kind to ringside photographers, to the video crew, to the production crew, to the referees, to the security staff, to the people that clean the building, whatever the case may be, because you never know when knowing these folks and making sure that they are taken care of and that you actually are acknowledging them, whereas most people will just walk right by them or ignore them. The fact that you went out of your way to greet them, to welcome them, sometimes that can pay some major dividends down the road. Again, not to say you should do that because you are expecting something, but it's a nice side effect of actually being kind. And who would think that David Barnabas Spector would be delivering lessons about being kind? Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, that surprises me too, because if I do remember correctly, I've always been kind to a certain ringside photographer until one day when he hits me in the pelvic area with a cane in a battle royal. Talk about that.
Listen. We were having such a nice conversation, and now we've got to muddy the waters. Now we've got to start talking about sour grapes. But fine. I realize that this wound has not healed completely, so I'm willing to talk about it. So. We were getting to this point anyway. We might as well dive in. Obviously, you and I have known each other for some time, but we really got to know each other, even more so, when I finally made my intentions clear and stepped inside the FGW ring to shed my former persona as a ringside photographer, which was little more than my way to get my foot in the door, to scout talent, and to figure out a way to get dirt on the right people, which happened to be Jackson Breeze, Brian Levick, and by virtue of that, I got what I wanted, which was to toss aside the guise of being the mere ringside photographer and actually fully stepping into the role of what I have always been and have always born to be, which is the supreme leader of Darkness Worldwide as David Barnabas Spector. But what you are referring to, there's a few times we've tangled in FGW. Simply because